exciting review of Failing Forward by John C. Maxwell. So we started the review of this book yesterday, but don't worry, in case you did not join yesterday, you did not miss much, okay? Because yesterday we only took the testimonies of those who already read this book and who had something, a word of praise to say about the book. We also took the preface to the book to understand what we are going to be reading and how valuable this book is. So tonight we're going to be looking at chapter 1, which is titled, What is the Main Difference Between People Who Achieve and People Who Are Average? How is it that some people are high achievers in life, while some people at best remain average? So sit back, relax as we delve into this. And as we do this, I want you to open up your mind, because from this book, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn how to fail forward. And the author told us in the preface that after reading this book, you will never fear failure again. So let's see to that. All right. So what makes achievers excel? Why do some people skyrocket while others plummet? You know, you can call it luck, you can call it blessing, or the Midas touch. Call it whatever you want. But the truth is that some people just seem to achieve incredible things in life. They seem to achieve whatever that they set out to achieve, irrespective of tremendous difficulties, obstacles, challenges that may come their way. These people would usually finish in the top 5% in nationwide sales for their company. For example, they find ingenious ways to increase profits for their department in the face of budget costs. These people, you will see them, they will earn a degree in spite of the fact that they are single mothers tending to 2 children. In spite of these difficulties, they still go ahead to do great things in life. They discover awesome business opportunities while colleagues don't see any at all. These people could recruit winners after winners. They do so much for their organizations. They win. It doesn't matter what kind of work they do. Wherever they are, they just seem to make things happen. These are high achievers. How are they able to do this? And why is it that everybody on earth is not achieving like this? You want to look at yourself and tell yourself the truth. Are you an achiever, or are you an average person? To be an average person is to be a mediocre, right? Like, you know, when they say, how about that girl? And somebody says, oh, she's just there. That means there's nothing extraordinary about the girl. That is what it means to be average. She's just there. Come on, same, you know. But then somebody that stands out, you will hear what's like, oh, excellent, she's fantastic. She's so awesome. She's extraordinary. And all of this. So ask yourself, is there any extraordinary thing about your life? If the answer is yes, fantastic. So let it keep getting better. And if the answer is no or maybe, then please keep an open mind. Even if your answer is yes, still keep an open mind, right? And see how you can move from being an average person to being a high achiever. Certainly, all people like to think of themselves as above average. But achievers seem to leave average in the dust, so far behind them that ordinary seems to be a distant memory. So what makes the difference? Why are some people up there while some are just barely passing through life, managing, enduring? What makes the difference? Why do some people achieve so much? Is it family background? While this is a beautiful thing, we all want to be born into a very wonderful family. If I ask you now, oh, which family would you have wished to be born into? You may say, oh, I wish I was born into the Bill Gates family. I wish I was born into Dangote family. I wish I was born into Otedola family or Oprah Winfrey family, and all of those big families, right? This is fantastic. Coming from a great family, a rich family, A wonderful family is something to be grateful for. But then, this is not the reason why some people achieve so much in life and some people are just barely average. This is not the reason, because we have seen people who come from very rich families, but who are not doing anything. They're not even doing ordinary things. They are doing below ordinary. I once told you of a secondary school in Lagos. The school was so fantastic. It was more like the talk of the town those years. But the moment the owner died and left such a big inheritance for the children could not manage it. They've always been spoiled brats. Even when their dad was alive, if there were 30 children in a class, for example, trust that the three of them will come 28, 29, 30. They always come at the bottom of the class. Is it that they didn't come from a good family? Their dad was an awesome person. He was rich, he was kind, and all of that. But this did not guarantee the success of the children, right? So it is not about family background. It is not about that. High percentages of successful people come from broken homes, and that is the truth. If you cast your mind back, if you think deeply, you may probably remember 2 or 3 people who are from broken homes and who are doing great things in life today. Or is it wealth? No, some of the greatest achievers come from households of average to below average means. As I was reading this, I remember our very own Sunday Onokoya, the chess master. Sunday was from the slum. In fact, he could barely go to school because his parents were so poor. They were so poor. They were living in the slum in Ikorodu, Lagos, Nigeria. In fact, apart from this, his level of intelligence was so low, but he was determined. And look at him today. He is a high achiever. So it is not wealth. And the story I just told about that school that the children could not even manage, they sold off the school. We can see also that it is not about wealth, right? Wealth is no indicator of high achievement, and poverty is no guarantee of low achievement. Or could it be opportunity? Opportunity is a peculiar thing. 2 people with similar gifts, talents, and resources can look at a situation, and one person will see tremendous opportunity while the other sees nothing. So opportunity is in the eye of the beholder. In a country where some people are seeing problems, others are seeing opportunities, right? So it depends on what you see. In Nigeria today, for example, so many people are complaining, right? In the midst of the complaining, in the midst of the hardship and everything, I know for sure that some people are smiling. They are not complaining. They are not murmuring because they are cashing out. They are seeing opportunities where some people are seeing problems. So it depends on what you focus your gaze on. Or could it be high morals? Like when they say, oh, that girl is so respectful. She's so well behaved. Or that man is he's from a very good family. Could it be that? I wish that were the key, but it is not. The author says that he has seen people with high integrity who achieve little. And he also knew scoundrels who are high producers. Think about it too. You probably know some people who you cannot even regard as having morals, yet they're making a headway in life. Or could it be the absence of hardship? For every achiever who has avoided tragedy, there is a Helen Keller. We know Helen Keller. She overcame extreme difficulties. If I remember clearly, she was deaf, she was blind, she was dumb, she had all kinds of disabilities. Yes, I can't remember if it was those 3, but she battled disabilities. At least I know that she was blind. I remember that. Or a Viktor Frankl who survived absolute horrors. So it is not that either. It is not the absence of hardship that makes some people to be achievers while some are average. The difference between average people and achieving people is their perception and response to failure. Because failure is a part of life. So it depends on what you see. Sorry. So adjust that. So it depends on what you see. What do you see? Is there anybody here who has never failed before? I mean, since you were born, you've only experienced success. You've only experienced, the going has always been good. Everything has been rosy. So it is your perception of failure as well as your response to failure. There is no doubt. Nothing else, sorry, let me quickly take this part. Nothing else has the same kind of impact on people's ability to achieve and to accomplish whatever their minds and hearts desire. Nothing else apart from their perception and response to failure. So, this is what you never learned in school. There is no doubt in my mind that there are many ways to be a winner, but there is really only one way to be a loser, and that is to fail and not look beyond failure. It is not even about failing alone, you see, but not looking beyond failure. The moment some people fail, that is the end of it. They accept defeat. They stay there. They don't want to try again. They don't want to move forward. How people see failure and deal with it, whether they possess the ability to look beyond it and keep achieving, impacts every aspect of their lives. Somebody will lose his job at the age of 30, and that is the day the person starts dying, not a physical death, but the person just loses every passion to forge ahead in life, to move, to look for a job, to start a business. They just accepted that that is the end of life. And God willing, the person lives up to 70 or 80 years. It means for the remaining 40 or 50 years of their lives, they are just barely passing through. They are not achieving anything. Yet that ability seems difficult to acquire. Most people don't know where to start looking to get it. The ability to rise above failure. Every positive people have a tough time learning how to see failure positively, irrespective of the fact that some people may have the ability to motivate others, to ginger others, have a positive outlook to life generally, but they still may have a tough time learning how to see failure positively. And the author said that he was one of them. Even though he had written a book, Winning Attitude, which had been in print for more than 15 years, he still had a tough time perceiving failure positively. He hadn't learned how to fail forward before he wrote this book because he wasn't properly prepared for failure. School does not teach us how to prepare for failure. In fact, school has a way of bringing us down anytime we fail, right? School highlights our failure. School paints failure in a very bad light and makes us very, very scared of failure, such that we don't want to try new things because we are so afraid of failure. Oh, what if I start that business and I fail? What if I do that thing and it doesn't succeed? So many people just remain there. They will rather not try, forgetting that failure is a part of life. If you don't fail, don't expect success. So let's take a look at some of the previous attitudes of the author, John C. Maxwell, towards failure. And then from his own story and experience, you will see if you can relate, if the same thing applies to you. He said that number one, he feared failure, especially when he was in college. On the first day of class, as a freshman in college, one professor, that was taking one of the courses that he was offering, came into the class and told them, half of you in this room will not pass this class. When I read this part, I was just laughing. Like, I thought this was only applicable in Nigeria, when lecturers will go to the class and threaten students and say, oh, you cannot pass this course. Half of you are going to fail and things like that. I thought that it was just only Nigeria. Nigeria has really suffered. We always think that all the bad things happen in Nigeria. But a professor walked into his class and said that half of you in this room will not pass this class. And what was his first response? Fear. He was afraid. What does this professor want? What can I do to make sure that I pass this course? I don't want to fail this course. And what did he do? He started cramming. He said that this was, let me check the class again. It was history of civilization. So you know that this course has a lot to do with dates. So he said at a point he had to memorize 83 dates for a test in that class. 83 dates. Even though he got an A in that test, 3 days later he couldn't remember any of the information. That is what happens when you cram. You just cram to pass. You don't really learn, right? And that was the fear of failure taking a better part of him. He had to memorize 83 dates just so that he could pass, just so that what the professor said about half of the class failing would not affect him, right? He had managed to avoid failure, but then he had not really accomplished anything by cramming and forgetting like 3 days later. The second experience that he had was that he misunderstood failure. What is failure? As a child, he thought that failure was just a percentage. Like if you score below 69, you're a failure. If you score above 69, you're a success. But failure is not a percentage. Failure is a process. It is not even a single event. It is a process. It is a part of life. Because if you start a business today, for example, you have successfully started, even though some people are failing, but you have successfully started. Or maybe as you want to start to experience some challenges and you are able to overcome these challenges, you see that, oh, I've overcome that failure. But that's not the end of it. It is a process. Get ready. How do you now relate with customers? How do you sustain the business? And then while you're trying to sustain the business, failure comes knocking again. And then you fail forward. You overcome that. Now, when it comes to recruiting staff, you want to make sure that you get the best hands, loyal people who will share your vision. That is another hurdle to be crossed. And then maybe you fail by recruiting the wrong business, the wrong people, who bring your business down. And then you have to overcome that again. So it is a process. For as long as we live, as we overcome one hurdle, another one is going to show up. But then the strength that you use in overcoming one hurdle is needed to overcome the next one. And that is why you should not shy away from failure, because it builds tenacity. It makes you tough. It brings experience. And in that failure, you will see beauty. If you don't cave in, if you do not accept defeat. What was the third experience that he had? He was unprepared for failure. He wasn't prepared for it at all. When he graduated from college with his bachelor's degree, he finished in the top 5% of his class. But that did not mean anything to him, right? Because he had played the school game successfully, just cram and pass and find your way around it. But at the end of the day, he wasn't really prepared for what was ahead. He just went through school to pass, to get good grades. And so he said when he graduated from school and he started pastoring a small church in a rural area, in the first year, he worked very hard so that the members of the church would like him. He worked so hard. He tried to please everybody just to get people to like him, just to meet up with their expectation. But then when it was time for them to vote, because they would usually vote if they want the pastor to remain, not like what is prevalent in most African countries or Nigeria precisely, where, once they bring a pastor, the pastor can be there for as long as possible. In his own church, the pastor would have to be voted in every year. If the members want the pastor to remain, then they have to vote. If they don't want the pastor to remain, they have to vote him out as well. So when they voted, he said that he had thought that, because he was helping people, that people would like him, right? And he was really working to please people. But then, to his greater surprise, 31 people gave him yeses. He got 31 yeses, 1 no, and 1 abstention. And then he went on crying to his father, who was also a veteran pastor in another denomination. And his dad laughed and said, okay, so he was asking his dad, should I leave? These people don't like me. I can't believe that one person actually voted me out and one person was absent. That absence means it's as good as a no. And his dad just laughed and said, no, son, stay there. Don't go anywhere. That's probably the best vote you will ever receive. So, again, there, he learned about failure, how to fail forward. Now, let's carry on. Jay Wallace said, the increase of suicides, alcoholics, and even some form of nervous breakdowns is evidence that many people are training for success when they should be training for failure. We'll understand that as we proceed. Failure is far more common than success. Poverty is far more prevalent than wealth. And disappointment more normal than arrival. Isn't it true? I once said it before that we often hear of, 10 richest men in Africa, 10 richest women in the world, the richest man in the world. I don't think I've ever heard of the 10 poorest people in the world, because there are so many. How many are you going to count? How many can you count? I've never heard of, the most wretched person in the world. I've never heard of that, right? The 10, poorest in Africa. I've never heard of that. There are so many. But then we can put a number, a figure to the rich people that we have in the world. And that's because there are so few. And that's because a lot of people train for success. They don't train for failure. They are unprepared for failure. So when failure comes their way, they don't know how to handle it. They allow failure to weigh them down. Training for failure, that is a great concept. And it is the idea that prompted John C. Maxwell to write this book. Right now, you are getting the chance to sign up with John C. Maxwell for a class you were never offered in school. He wants to help you train for failure. He wants you to learn how to confidently look the prospect of failure in the eye and move forward anyway. Because in life, the question is not if you will have problems, but how are you going to deal with your problems? Are you going to fail forward or backward? Because the truth is, failure will always come. So are you going to fail forward? Are you going to fail backward? Now, putting a face to obstacle, we're going to talk about Mary Kay Ash in the next few minutes of this review. A very powerful woman who looked trouble in the eye and forged ahead. One of the first of these people is Mary Kay Ash. If you're a lady, you probably know about Mary Kay Cosmetics. Mary Kay. I've also used that product before. So popular, right? Mary Kay. But this woman experienced obstacles. We read about her in Think and Grow Rich, but very briefly. So now we're going to talk about her in more detail. A very inspiring one. Indeed, she built an organization during the last 4 or 5 years. She had the opportunity, this is John C. Maxwell talking now, that he had the opportunity to speak to people in Mary Kay's cosmetics company about leadership. And anytime he traveled around the world and he had to talk to people about leadership, he would find at least 1 dozen of Mary Kay's consultants in attendance. That means that she had consultants everywhere, and the author admired her a lot because she overcame a lot of obstacles in her career and she never let failure get a better part of her. We read about her in Think and Grow Rich, how she was a salesperson and how she wanted to quit her job. That story is not here, but I just remembered how she wanted to quit her job. But then she attended a function like a dinner and a queen was being crowned. There was a beauty pageant. And then she went to the chairman of the organization and said, next year, I want to be crowned the queen. Even though she did not know how that was going to be. She did not even, know how that would be possible. But she had this determination. And thank God for the chairman. The chairman said to her, I think that you can. Something like that. I can't remember the exact words. And then she went ahead. And the next year, she was crowned the queen. So here, we're even reading more about her. It said that her first career was in direct sales and she was quite successful. But then in that organization, it was very, very difficult for women to climb up the ladder. Women were doing great things, but they were never given a chance to be promoted or to be highly ranked. They were surrounded by men who were the directors and who were calling the shots in the company. So she felt that She was of very little value in such a company where women would do the bulk of the work, but then they wouldn't be recognized. Their words were not taken seriously, and all of that. So she decided to retire from that organization, but her retirement did not last long. By the time a month passed, she was just racking her brain. What can I do? She was restless, right? So she decided to start her own business, a cosmetics business. And if she was going to encounter obstacles, they would be there only because she brought them on herself. This was what she told herself, that any problem that I encounter in the course of this business, if these problems overcome me, then it will be my fault. So she was prepared to own her own failure. Before you go into anything, you need to give yourself some pep talks, right? To say, as I'm going, I am burning the bridge. It is either I succeed or I succeed. Whatever happens, I am going to stick it out. I'm not going to back down in the face of challenges. These are the things you're going to be, you should be telling yourself. And a lot of people do not tell themselves this. So when they go into any business and they encounter any obstacle, they are quick to back down. Maybe it's not the will of God. Maybe I'm in the wrong business. Just within 1 month of starting a business, you're already talking like this. It means that you cannot go find the business. You're already tying it to the will of God. How about you stick it out? How about, that's why you should even pray before you start. Pray, but then you may not even have 100% clarity. You have to move ahead regardless. If you have a bit of a green light and you don't have any strong feeling that you're doing the wrong thing, move ahead, forge ahead. Challenges do not mean that you are in the wrong business or that you're on the wrong path. Even if you are doing something that is going to succeed, it doesn't mean that challenges will leave you alone and say, don't worry, don't worry, just go ahead. I don't have any business with you. No. So she told herself that any obstacle that she encountered would be the only ones that she brought upon herself. So she decided to start a cosmetic business to give every woman who worked in her organization unlimited opportunities. So she started working on the formulas for her cosmetics, her beauty products, and then she found them. She worked out a marketing plan and was prepared to set up the corporation. But then, even before she started, she met her first obstacle. She went to her attorney to make legal arrangements for her corporation. And the attorney, like a lawyer, barrister, solicitor, something like that. The attorney insulted her and predicted her failure. Listen to what he told her. He said, Mary Kay, if you are going to throw away your life savings, why don't you just go directly to the trash can and throw the money there? Don't waste your time starting this business. That was what the guy implied. It will be so much easier than what you are proposing. The attorney said this to her. Then her accountant said something similar, like, woman, you're wasting your time. This business is a failure even before you start. But remember what she said to herself, that the only obstacle she would encounter in that business would be the one that she brought upon herself. So her determination was there. How many of us have been discouraged like this? And we took in the discouragement, we absorbed it. When we read Rich Dad Poor Dad, we talked about Chicken Littles. People would discourage you. They are not going anywhere. They have never tried what you want to try. But they will give you 1,001 reasons why that thing will not fail. If you listen to such people, then just say bye-bye to success, right? So you don't listen to them. For me, or personally, I prefer to try something out and not succeed at it than to stay back and be wondering, what if I had started that business 5 years ago? Maybe it would have yielded up to 100 million, naira by now. Maybe it would have gone global. I would not live in regrets. Once I am sure that this thing is worth trying, I'm going to go for it. And that is the kind of spirit that I have. So don't allow anybody to bring you down. You only live once, then you live your life afraid, scared. You don't want to take any step. You don't want to make any move. Just because somebody said it cannot succeed, you only live once. Live it to the fullest. Try out everything that you want to try. It brings fulfillment. Not everything is about money or, getting awards and everything. Sometimes you are just fulfilled that, okay, at least I tried, at least I attempted it, it just did not work out. It is better than somebody who sits down and try nothing. All right. So Mary Kay did not allow herself to be discouraged. She moved forward and she put her $5,000 life savings into this business. Every cent that she had went into this business. She put her husband in charge of the administrative side of the business while she worked tirelessly to prepare the products, to design the packaging, materials, and to recruit consultants. She was making wonderful progress until tragedy struck. Her husband died of heart attack a month before she was to open her business. Her husband died of heart attack right at their kitchen table. What a big blow. Most people would have never been able to go on after that. They wouldn't have been able to go on after that tragedy. Thank you, Pef. After that tragedy, right? That the husband is gone. The husband is dead, her number one business partner. But then she mourned her husband, right? She wasn't like a lot of people who would have accepted defeat and allowed the business to just die like that. She mourned her husband and she kept going. And on the 13th of September, 1963, she launched her business. Today, as at the time of writing this book, she had made over $1 billion in annual sales. She had employed 3,500 people and empowered 500,000 direct sales consultants in 29 markets worldwide. Mary Kay Ash has received just about every award an entrepreneur could ever dream of. Despite adverse circumstances, obstacles, and hardships, she failed forward. So you can choose to fail backward or to fail forward, because one thing is constant: failure. So when failure comes, do you keep forging ahead to say, like we'll say in Nigeria, I know they agree for anybody? Or you just sit down and say, maybe this is my fate in life, I'm not just lucky. No. Now let's quickly answer this question. We're almost at the end. The author said that when he was growing up, some motivational speakers would always ask this question, that if the possibility of failure were erased, what would you attempt to achieve? But then the author disagreed with this to say there is no achievement without failure. That rather, the right question should be, if your perception of and response to failure were changed, what would you attempt to achieve? If the way you view failure changes, what would you attempt to achieve? Would you attempt to achieve all of the dreams, the great things that you have in mind to achieve? Or would you still remain there? I don't know what obstacles you are facing in your life right now. This is the author speaking. But whatever they are, doesn't matter. What does matter is that your life can change if you are willing to look at failure directly. You have the potential to overcome any problems, mistakes, or misfortunes. All you have to do is to learn to fail forward. If you are ready to do that, turn the page and let's go. Now, before we go, you need to answer these questions, because look at the way any achiever approaches negative experiences, and you can learn a lot about how to fail forward. Read through these two lists, and determine which one describes your approach to failure. So listen attentively to this list, and we're going to end on this note. There is one side of the list that is titled failing backward, and there is the opposite side that is titled failing forward. So as I pick a point under failing backward, I'll read the points on the failing forward. So for those who fail backward, they blame others. Those who fail forward, they take responsibilities. Failing backward is repeating the same mistakes. Failing forward is learning from each mistake. Failing backward is expecting never to fail again. Failing forward is knowing failure is a part of progress. Failing backward is expecting to continually fail. Failing forward is maintaining a positive attitude. Failing backward is accepting tradition blindly. Failing forward is challenging outdated assumptions. Failing backward is being limited by past mistakes. Failing forward is taking new risks. Failing backward is thinking, I am a failure. Failing forward is believing something didn't work. Failing backward is quitting. Failing forward is perseverance or persevering. Now, think about a recent setback that you experienced. How did you respond? Think about a recent setback that you experienced. How did you respond to it? No matter how difficult your problems were, the key to overcoming them doesn't lie in changing your circumstances. It is in changing yourself. Change your mindset. Change your perception. Change the way that you reason. Leave that situation or that circumstance alone. Change yourself first. Because you may be seeing a problem in that circumstance. Somebody else may see it as a great opportunity. Opportunity is in the eye of the beholder. That in itself is a process, and it begins with a desire to be teachable. If you are willing to do that, then you'll be able to handle failure. From this moment on, make a commitment to do whatever it takes to fail forward. So this is your step to failing forward. Realize that there is one major difference between average people and achieving people, and that difference is the way they perceive failure and respond to failure. Wow, what a powerful book. We've come to the end of chapter 1. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at chapter 2, which is titled, Get a New Definition of Failure and Success. Another powerful review that is going to be. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me on this review. I saw all of your comments. Thank you for making this review an interactive one. Okay, we're going to come together again tomorrow by God's grace at 9:30 p.m. West African time here on YouTube. You don't want to miss it. Don't forget to like this video, drop all of your comments, subscribe to this channel if you are yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady, and on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally. I'll come intentional. Bye.